You don't have to break to be a blessing. You don't have to bleed to be believed. And Queen, you don't have to burn yourself out just to prove you're worthy of being chosen. Hi, love, I'm Kayali Cole, and this is where women learn to love and lead from power and not panic. This is where we return to our truth and learn the strategy of peace, power, and purpose. This is your invitation to come home to your center. Before we begin, Queen, stay with me until the end. Your exclusive Queen's Closing gift is waiting there for you. And I see so many of you watching, growing, returning, but not yet subscribing. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You give your time, I give my best. That's our promise to each other. Okay? All right, let's get into this message now. All right, breathe with me because this one, it's sacred. It's so important. You were raised on sacrifice. So was I. We were taught that love meant proving, pouring, pushing past our capacity just to keep our place. We were trained to anticipate needs, to carry what wasn't ours, and to give without ever asking if we had anything left to give. And they told us that made us strong, that made us good, that made us lovable. But Queen, let's tell the truth. Overgiving is not the same as loving. It's often the opposite. Because when you're giving from emptiness, you're not nurturing others. You're negotiating for your own worth. Yeah, let that settle. Because I know how it starts. You just want to be helpful. You want to be seen as kind. You want to prove that you're valuable enough to be kept. If you give enough, serve enough, love enough, but let's be honest, you've been the friend who gave everything and still got ghosted. You've been the daughter who kept showing up day after day after day after day and still got criticized. You've been the woman who overfunctioned in every room and still felt unseen. And that's because overgiving doesn't make you indispensable. It makes you invisible. It doesn't deepen your relationships. It distorts them. Because if love has to cost you yourself, it's not love. It's performance. You ever say yes to something knowing good and well you meant no? And now you're in your car practicing your exit speech like it's a court deposition? Yeah, that's what happens when you give from obligation and not overflow. Right there. Even Jesus retreated. Yes, he did. Even the sacred said, "It is finished." Even the most powerful knew the difference between giving and giving yourself away. Queen, you were not created to be depleted. You were not born to be the endless supply for people who never learned how to feed themselves. And deep down, you already know this. You felt the resentment rising in your chest after saying yes again and again. You cried on the bathroom floor wondering why nobody pours into you the way you pour into them. You wondered, what more do I have to do for someone to finally choose me back? But baby, the question is not what more can I give? The question is, what version of me do I keep abandoning just to be received? Ask yourself. I know it's hard because what you believe, you repeat. And when your inner script says, I'm only valuable if I'm useful, you keep manifesting relationships that require your exhaustion in exchange for affection. But Queen, your imagination creates reality. And when you imagine yourself as loved without labor, as worthy without welfare, as chosen without proving, that's when everything changes. Because when you believe that you're enough and your enoughness is not earned, it's embodied, you stop negotiating your peace to keep your place. You stop. You ever loan someone your peace, right? Your car, your energy, your Netflix password, and they still had the nerve to say, "Oh, you've changed." That's not just nerve, babe. That's spiritually comedic. Because the version of you that overextended was never your truest self. It was your survival self. And now you're walking in something deeper. You are. You're learning that peace is not passive. It's practice. You're learning that love does not mean access on demand. You're learning that boundaries are not walls. They are the architecture of self-respect. Let's pause right here. Because this isn't just about how others treat you. It's about how you've been trained to treat yourself. It's about the version of you that internalized your value as service. The little girl who thought being liked meant being needed. The woman who confused being necessary with being loved. But Queen, you are not here to be needed. You are here to be known. You're not just useful, you are sacred. And the more you align with that truth, the less tolerance you'll have for relational dynamics that survive off of your overfunctioning. You have to understand, right? You have to understand faith is not just believing in the unseen. It's believing in what's within. It's believing that God didn't create you to be empty in order to be enough. It's trusting that saying no is not a rejection, it's a reverence. Because when your no is rooted in peace, your yes becomes powerful. It becomes powerful. You ever notice how quiet your life becomes when you stop volunteering for exhaustion? When you're exhausted all the time, it doesn't help anyone. When you stop offering yourself as the emotional janitor in every room, when you stop translating other people's silence as your failure, that's not rudeness, that's revelation. You don't have to explain your decision to rest. You don't have to justify your boundary with a long paragraph. You don't have to post a disclaimer about why you're no longer available to be drained. Sometimes no is the entire sentence, N-O. Sometimes not anymore is the entire revolution. And here's the truth. We're walking with, you can be given without giving yourself away. You can be generous without being empty. You can be compassionate without being consumed. Because the real power isn't how much you pour. Isn't how much you protect the vessel you pour from. So Queen, you don't have to break to be a blessing. You don't have to be needed to be worthy. You are already worthy. You don't have to keep overgiving just to be chosen. You choose. You choose yourself. You're already chosen. And this next season of your life is not about being more available. It's about being more aligned. Aligned, not available. Right? It's a lot, but it takes work to get to the next chapter, to get to the next season where you're not depleted. It's not that you want to overgive. I know that. It's that somewhere along the way, your body learned that love must be earned, and your nervous system still hasn't unlearned it. Let that sink in. You weren't born overgiving. You were taught that your value increased the more invisible you became. You were taught to be easy, agreeable, low maintenance. You were praised when you didn't need too much, when you made everything easier for everyone else but you. And so you adapted. You became the helper, the healer, the shiro or the hero. And behind all of that, all that giving was a quiet hope. If I make myself useful enough, maybe I'll finally be loved the way I long to be, the way I love others, the way I pour. Maybe someone will pour back into me. But Queen, let me offer this with tenderness. Overgiving is often grief in disguise. Grief over the love you didn't receive. Grief over the childhood where presence was only met with pressure. Grief over the relationships that taught you pain was the price of being kept. This is a wound we're naming now. Because until we name it, we'll keep repeating it over and over again. Around the same merry-go-round, the cycle continues. Your inner world is creating your outer experience. Not because you're broken, not because you're wrong, but because your self-concept still believes that you have to perform to be preserved. But Queen, the moment you imagine yourself as loved, not for what you do, but for who you are, is a moment your reality begins to shift. Because imagination isn't pretend, it's prophecy. You're not crazy for craving softness. You're not weak for wanting reciprocity. You're not asking for too much. You're asking from a place that was never filled. And you can heal that place now. Not by giving more, but by finally giving to yourself. You can. I want to ask you ever cook a whole meal, clean the kitchen, serve everyone else, and then realize you forgot to make yourself a plate? That's not just dinner, that's your pattern. That's your pattern. And why? Ask yourself why. Where's your priority? Because your brain is wired for familiarity, not for fulfillment. So if your baseline has always been overfunctioning, your body will literally crave the stress of overgiving because it feels normal. But familiar doesn't mean healthy, and normal doesn't mean aligned. So the work here isn't just stopping the behavior. It's healing the identity that believes exhaustion is love. Because once you shift the internal pattern, the external cycles will start to break. Here's what that looks like in real time, okay? You get the text, they need something again. And instead of rushing to say yes, you pause. You ask yourself, is this loving or is this a leak? You say, not this time. And you shake your hands, put your spirit in a place of calm and exhale. That right there, Queen, is transformation. Not rushing to fill the space, not rushing to feel needed, because self-abandonment often masquerades as compassion. But compassion without boundaries is just a martyrdom. It is. Real power begins when you believe and truly believe that God does not require your exhaustion to bless your life. He is not waiting for you to break in order to believe you're ready. In fact, He's been whispering all along, daughter, I never asked you to carry this alone. I never asked you to do this by yourself. So what if the most spiritual thing you could do this week is rest? What if your divine assignment right now isn't found in doing more, but in letting go? Right? Loosening it all. You ever say, let me know if you need anything, and 5 minutes later you regret sending the whole message? You know why? Because now you're watching your phone like it's a landmine. That's your intuition saying, girl, we're not available for that anymore. You have to sometimes say no, and it's okay. Let's speak truth right here. You're not rude for having boundaries. You're not cold for being clear. You're not selfish for finally choosing yourself. You're not. Because you've spent years measuring your goodness by your availability. But Queen, what if your greatness is revealed in your restraint? What if love is not proved by what you give, but how well you protect your giving? Because energy is currency, and not everyone deserves a withdrawal from your account. Think about it. Let that become your new filter. Does this serve my peace, or does it steal it? Does this relationship honor my presence, or depend on my performance? Is this love, or is this labor? Right? We have new filters we need to use. Say this to yourself. I am not the savior. I am not the source. I am the sanctuary. And in this sanctuary, peace is protected. Energy is sacred. And love is never negotiated through depletion. Queen, you're not broken for needing rest. You're not too much for wanting to be seen. You're not unlovable because you finally set limits. You're evolving. And evolution can feel lonely at first, because the people who benefited from your overgiving won't applaud your boundaries. They just won't. But this isn't about applause. This is about alignment. This is about becoming the woman who no longer sees herself as a service provider, but as a sovereign soul called, covered, and complete. You have to know this. Let this truth settle within you. You don't owe your energy to people who refuse to respect it. You don't owe your care to those who confuse access with intimacy. You don't owe your overflow to those who drank from your well but never poured into it. The power of not overgiving is that you start to reclaim the parts of yourself that were buried under other people's comfort. And Queen, that's where your real life begins. That's where it starts. Just think about it. Who are those people who benefit from your overgiving? And how are you going to change that? How is that going to turn around in your life right now? What will you do in the next couple of days? Right? Because there's a sacred moment in every woman's life where she looks at everything she used to call love and realizes it was labor. The over-explaining, the bending, the breaking herself into pieces just to keep the peace. And in that moment, she doesn't get loud. She doesn't get bitter. She just gets clear. This is that moment for you. This is that moment where you sit and you study your life. You're no longer living from memory. You're living from imagination now. And imagination isn't fantasy, it's foundation. Because every time you visualize a life where your peace is honored, you're building it. Every time you pause instead of pouring, you're reprogramming. Every time you say, not this time, instead of, sure, I can make it work, you're stepping into the woman your younger self prayed to become. This is not selfish. It's sacred work. It's sacred work. You used to believe your worth lived in your yes. Now you know your power lives in your no. You're not waiting for someone or anyone to clap for your clarity. You're not collecting praise to validate your pause. You're just choosing peace on purpose and calling that your new standard, because it is. It's your new standard. You ever send a voice note like, hey love, I can't make it tonight. I've had a full day and I need to recharge. And then instantly feel like you have to follow up with an entire paragraph, like justifying it. Yeah. That's the quilt we're releasing now. That's what we're trying to untangle. Because you don't need a dissertation for your decision to rest. You don't need that any longer. It's okay to say no. And here's the truth. Your brain has been addicted to being rewarded. Being a reward of being needed all the time. And every time you try to pull back, your body panics. Because it thinks connection only comes through self-sacrifice. But Queen, we're retraining your nervous system to feel safe in stillness, safe in slowness, safe in being supported, not just supporting. This is not just behavioral change, it's neurological. It's liberation. Let me ask you this gently. When did love become a job? When did you start confusing effort with intimacy? When did you decide that your presence had to earn its place? Because Queen, real love doesn't come with a task list. It comes with truth. And the truth is, you've been holding up the whole dynamic on your back. And now that you're setting it down, they're calling you distant. They're saying you've changed, right? Let them. It's okay. You have changed. You have. You're not being distant. You're getting delivered from the demon of overgiving. You are. You stop believing that divine favor only follows suffering. You stopped expecting that chaos means you're doing something important. You stop waiting for people to see your worth because God already spoke it. You are worthy. There is a grace that covers you now, a peace that protects you, a quiet confidence that says, I don't need to exhaust myself to be extraordinary. That's kingdom. That's peace that surpasses all understanding, even your own. Queen, let's be honest with ourselves. You've given to the point of depletion, love to the point of leaking, serve to the point of silence. But what if you could love without leaking? What if giving didn't require grief? What if you're allowed to hold back without guilt and still be good? Still be good because you are. You're still kind if you don't answer every call. You're still generous if you don't say yes to every ask. You're still loving if you don't show up every time they ring the alarm. Why? Why? Because your value was never tied to your visibility. It was always anchored in your being, who you are. Okay? I want to ask you, you ever see the text, pause, and say, God, this is one of those old me moments, isn't it? And instead of replying, you just put your phone on the charger and go to get some tea or something to drink instead. Yeah, that's emotional strategy. Not every text has to be answered. Not every call has to be picked. Know how to practice peace in real time. You slow down long enough to check with your spirit. And you pause before saying yes. You scan your body before replying. You ask yourself, is this love or is this a leak? Because I don't want to leak anymore. Because your body knows, your spirit knows, your peace knows. And when all three agree, that's when you say yes. That's when you give. That's when you pour. not out of obligation, out of overflow, right? Queen, if this message is meeting you where you are, drop a comment and let me know what part of your heart it's just touched, right? Don't hold it in. Let your truth make room for someone else's breakthrough. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this space is built for a woman like you. Soft but unshakable, wise but always becoming, peaceful on purpose. All right? So stay. This isn't just a video. This is soul work. And you don't have to do it alone. You don't. I'm right here with you. So let's land this part in truth. You're not being difficult for having needs. You're not. You're human. You're human. You're not being dramatic for expressing your limits. You have limits. You're not being selfish for finally protecting your soul. It needs protection. You're being transformed. And transformation doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like a N-O, no. Sometimes it looks like, not today. I just can't do it today. But every time it looks like truth, your truth. You're not afraid of being needed. You're not afraid of being needed anymore. You're learning to be known. You're not begging to be chosen anymore. You're choosing yourself. And that is holy. You're not pouring out to earn a seat anymore. You brought your own table and your own chairs. Queen, the message is no longer a mantra. It's a memory because you're living it now. You stopped performing. Yeah. You started embodying. And the woman you're becoming, she doesn't overgive to feel loved. She receives without apology. And that's the kind of peace that builds legacy. Right? That's the kind that builds legacy. So here, know this. Right here with you. We'll walk this journey together. And Queen, know that when we breathe and we inhale and exhale, it's to center our bodies. It's to come back to ourselves, right? So go ahead and inhale, hold, and exhale. Let's do it again. Inhale, hold, and exhale. This is the work, not the kind that leaves you drained, but the kind that returns you to yourself. Just for a few seconds. Because overgiving, it wasn't just a habit, it was a survival strategy. And now your healing requires a new one, a new strategy. All right, and here's a spiritual truth for you. I want you to listen. If the only way you feel safe in relationship is when you're giving something, that's not connection, that's conditioning. You were taught explicitly, our quiet, that being needed meant being loved. You poured, you anticipated, you showed up even when your soul didn't want to. And now you're learning to separate love from labor. It's two different things. It's two separate things. Love and labor is not the same. Your subconscious has been firing the same chemical cocktail every time you say yes out of fear. Fear of being left out, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being not enough unless you're useful. But Queen, your brain is not your final authority. Your spirit is. And now you're rewiring your system with this new equation, this new code. Presence equal power. Pause equal protection. Stillness equal strategy. You're creating a new emotional signature, and it's signed in peace. Let's go deeper. You ever feel that pull to say yes, not because you want to, but because you feel guilty? That's not discernment. That's conditioning. And when you ignore that inner tension, you just don't overgive. You overextend your soul. But here's what your healing is teaching you now. A request is not an obligation. A role is not an identity. And love doesn't have to cost you your center. It doesn't cost you your center. You ever see your phone ring and your whole body says no, but your fingers still start typing? Hey, what's up? Out of habit? Nah, not anymore. Now you take a beat, take a second. Check in with your nervous system, and maybe you don't respond at all. That's not rude. That's realignment. That's realignment. Let's ask the sacred questions now. Who taught you that giving more meant being more? Where did you learn that you're only safe when you're solving? What belief still whispers that being unavailable makes you unlovable? Don't judge your answers, just let them rise. This is excavation work. This is how healing speaks in quiet truth, not loud shame. You're not bad for how you coped. You're just ready for something deeper now. You're ready. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. And it takes a lot of strength to be truthful with your own self. To know that you're not the glue holding everything together. You are the garden. And in this garden, you don't bloom by giving your petals away. You bloom by rooting. Rooting in rest, rooting in clarity, rooting in knowing that when God designed you, He did not assign you to be everyone's emotional safety net. You are loved for your being, not your busyness. Not your busyness. Queen, let's bring it back to your body, because that's where that calmness resides. What does it feel like to give out of peace versus panic? Because that's your compass now. Not guilt, not urgency, not fear, but truth. And sometimes truth sounds like this. I love you, but not today. I see your need, but I'm tending to mine. I care deeply, but not at the cost of myself. That's not cold. That's calibrated. That's calibrated love. I want to ask you, have you ever started writing a long explanation for why you can't do something? Then delete it and just say, hey love, I won't be able to make it, wishing you well. And then you walk away feeling like you just lifted an entire generation off your shoulders. Yeah. That's emotional liberation. It is. That's emotional liberation, Queen. This is what it means to stop being the first responder to dysfunction. To stop being the unpaid therapist. To stop being the emotional translator in every conversation. To stop being the peacekeeper when the cost is your peace. You were never called to carry everyone. You were called to choose. And choosing doesn't make you hard. It makes you holy. It does. It's okay to step back. It's okay to have peace. It's okay to have a life where your no is met with respect, where your energy is treasured, not just tolerated, where your stillness is seen as strength, not distance. Feel that, understand that. That image is not a fantasy, it's a blueprint. And your body, your breath, your boundaries, they are all responding to that new vision now. You're no longer replaying the old script. You're authoring a new one. Let's seal this part with a practice. Grounding. It's a grounding practice. It's called a sovereignty scan. Pause, close your eyes, take one deep breath. Check and ask yourself, am I giving from overflow or emptiness? Decide. If it's overflow, proceed. If it's emptiness, pause. Replenish, realign, and affirm. Affirm. Whisper to yourself, I give from choice, not compulsion. I serve with soul, not sacrifice. I'm not responsible for managing other people's chaos. Let that settle in your body. Queen, this is not just about behavior. This is about embodiment. You are no longer driven by reaction. You are guided by revelation. You don't overgive to feel useful. You rest to feel whole. Because you finally remembered, you don't have to carry everything. You just have to carry your truth. And truth never asks you to abandon yourself. It doesn't. You have to remember your truth and stay with it. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but you have to stay with your truth and no longer abandon yourself. Because Queen, before we close this sacred journey, I want you to pause right here where you are. Feel your breath, feel your body, feel the peace that's arrived. You didn't just read this, you walked through something. You didn't just hear this, you walked through something. And now you're being asked to live it. Because knowing you've been overgiving is one thing, but embodying a new way of being, that's where transformation begins. Right there. Let's breathe. Inhale. I release the pressure to be everything for everyone. And exhale now. I return to my center. Again, inhale. I do not earn love through exhaustion. Exhale. I choose love that honors my boundaries. One more time. We're going to inhale. I am allowed to need nothing in this moment. Exhale. And still be worthy of everything I desire. Now listen closely, love. There's a woman rising inside of you. She doesn't overfunction. She doesn't over-apologize. She doesn't rush in to fix what was never hers to heal. She is wise. She is discerning. She is calm. Not because life is quiet, but because her spirit is louder than the chaos. And Queen, know this. She is you. She is you. We're going to do some affirmations because this is what rewires your mind. You can write it down. You can repeat it. You can say it out loud. Say this. I no longer measure my worth by my output. I trust that what is mine will not require self-abandonment. I give from alignment, not anxiety. I release the habit of rescuing others to feel safe. I welcome connections that meet me with mutual energy. I honor my no as a full sentence. I no longer fear being misunderstood. I don't chase appreciation. I embody self-respect. I trust divine reciprocity. I no longer beg for balance. My rest is not laziness, it is leadership. Queen, your overgiving wasn't just out of generosity. It was about survival. It was a younger version of you trying to stay safe, trying to earn love, trying to prove she belonged. But love, you don't have to earn that, what's already yours. Love that's healthy will never require your depletion. Respect that's real will never require your exhaustion. Peace that's sacred will never ask you to perform for it. Never, never, ever. Trust and believe that you are rising, you are becoming, you're being led by your spirit. That's inner leadership. That's inner control, inner peace. You don't need to be busy to be valuable. You are already worthy. You are already valuable. Okay? A small move that you can practice this week is called a pause. Your first sacred step is simple. Pause before you say yes. That's it. Just pause. Next time someone asks something of you or you feel the tug to step in and fix, stop. Check in with your body. Ask, do I want to give this or do I feel obligated? Then respond, not from guilt, but from groundedness. From a yes that feels authentic. That's a micro move that shifts your entire energy. One sacred pause at a time, right? Take your time, relax, slow down, and make your yes be a yes and your no be a no. The large move is self-reclamation plan. Now we go deeper. Here's your invitation to build a life rooted in boundaries, clarity, and peace. Take this 3-step pathway forward. Inventory your giving patterns. Where do you overgive out of fear? Who are you still trying to prove something to? Write it down. Bring it to light. That's how you reclaim it. Create your sacred standards. What kind of love, energy, reciprocity do you now expect? Write 3 new non-negotiables you're practicing. These aren't walls, they're windows into a new way of being. Practice a strategic reset. Schedule rest before depletion. Take 1 full day each week not to answer anyone's needs but your own. That's not selfish. That's sacred strategy. You have to pour into yourself before you can pour into others. You can't give from depletion. You can't give from a bank that's empty. You have to fill it first. Then you can withdraw. But you first have to deposit. You know? That's what you have to do in order to give from a place that's healthy. Your no is your nervous system saying thank you sometimes. And it's okay. Queen, the goal really is not to become hard. The goal is to become holy. You're not moving from bitterness, you're moving from boundaries. Because every time you choose not to overgive, you're telling your body, I am safe to rest. I am safe to receive. I am safe to be. You're not here to audition for affection. You're not here to anchor. You're here. You're here. You're here to anchor in alignment. Right? Not to give from exhaustion. You've been taught to equate value with being needed, but your value doesn't live in someone else's demand. It lives in your divine design. God didn't make you to be depleted. He made you to be discerning. And every time you honor that, heaven celebrates with you. It rejoices with you. So I want to thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate you receiving this message. Share it with a sister or a family who needs to hear it. And subscribe if you haven't. I thank you, and we shall talk again. You stay blessed and stay crowned. Talk to you later.